And welcome into Protect and Grow Chicagoland Retirement with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional, Tim Stearns, CFP. Always a pleasure to have you along for the ride and to be able to talk with Tim about what we need to know or be thinking about or doing with our money in order to achieve our important financial goals. Tim is your guide for proactive Chicagoland area savers and investors. Your resource there, TJ Stearns Inc. You're always welcome to be in touch. Pick up the phone, give a call, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. Tim, you usually start us off with a tip of the week. Tip this week, we've got to worry about what if in retirement.
Well, especially with what's been going on overseas, you need to, what happens if is kind of the theme of today. And I'm a big believer in stress testing your retirement plan. I think people have gotten kind of asleep at the switch, if you will, because we've been spoiled with these bull markets for the last 15, 17 years, where even if a market goes down, it pops back up, and we think it's always going to be like this. So at the end of the day, I think it's important to realize that, it's not always going to do that. And so we need to stress test our portfolios to make sure that we can withstand a tough market and get through a 30 plus year retirement.
Yeah, and you're not talking about irrational fears here, like what if the zombies pop up out of the ground or there's a Sharknado or something like that, right? You're
Yeah,
talking about what if something goes wrong? What if markets crash? What if we
right.
live longer than expected? What if we have a healthcare kind of event? And markets will grow, but they also are a little crazy at times. We've certainly seen that, and expenses could be manageable today, but what if inflation becomes a factor? So, Tim, you've got some scenarios to sort of illustrate some of these what if situations and then the planning that can help address them.
Right. So let's just pop into it. I mean, let's meet John and Susan. They retire at age 65. They have 1.5 million saved. They begin withdrawing $60,000 per year, and out of nowhere, the market drops 20% in their first year of retirement. Now their portfolio is down, and in addition to that, they're taking withdrawals.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something called sequence of returns risk. So it's the combination of losses and withdrawals early in retirement that can permanently damage their portfolio. So what happens next depends on that plan. Do they even have one? So if they panic and sell, the losses are locked in. If they have no income strategy, the stress increases. And then if they have no liquidity, they may be forced to sell at the worst time.
Now, Tim, they started off kind of following the guidelines that the financial world and Wall Street have suggested for us. Taking $60,000 from 1.5 million is what the 4% rule would indicate is a safe withdrawal strategy. But 4% doesn't stay 4% when the market's volatile like that.
No, it does not, because you've dropped down, and you're taking out more than 4%. Just it's simple math. We're not reinventing the wheel here, Pete. And my point is that when I talk to classes throughout the United States about this phenomenon, sequence of returns risk, people don't even know what it is. And so, I devoted a whole chapter of my book on this because it's so important to understand that this is a phenomenon that timing of losses matters more than the averages.
Sure.
Early downturns can be very dangerous to a retirement. A plan can reduce or eliminate that risk, and that's why we call everyone to tell to them to make sure that they do a protect and grow retirement.
Yeah, and the direction of your money might actually matter more than the direction of the market. Most people pre-retirement have never reversed the flow of money, started taking withdrawals instead of making contributions. And when that happens, everything changes. You have to have a plan that addresses that. And again, if you'd like to understand more, Tim mentioned his book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle. It's a great read. I highly suggest you give a call and request a copy of that, 800-640-2256. But also the important benefit is that you could have a plan that addresses this risk specifically, which is the Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint that Tim Stearns, CFP, and TJ Stearns, Inc. put together for their clients and potential candidate clients. And if you would like to get your Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint, pick up the phone, give a call, 800 640 2256, 800 640 2256. And Tim, another thing that two sides to this coin here, both hope for and worry about, is longevity. How is this scenario something that we specifically need to plan for, and what happens if we don't?
Well, I mean, many people I've met with, they'll say, oh, my dad only lived to be X and I'm not worried about it. So you see someone who retires at 65 and they're just planning for a 20-year retirement, but they live to 95. Without proper planning, income may run out, withdrawals may become unsustainable, inflation might erode their purchasing power. So longevity risk, which, according to a guy that we've had on the show, Tom Hegna, one of the biggest financial risks in retirement, it compounds over time. And so you need to make sure that you're, living longer will increase financial pressure. Longevity is both, a blessing and a curse, right? And the plans must account for these time horizons.
Tim, of the two potential scenarios here, you've got to weigh and evaluate which one is worse, right? If we have a plan that takes us out through age 125 and then we don't make it, how harmful was that? Versus if we have a plan that only takes us through 85 and then we live 50% longer, we live to 95. Could that potentially be more harmful and more impactful? I would think certainly so.
Right. No one wants to go live with your family or friends, and no one wants to call on the government to help them. So that is a longevity risk to me is one of the number one killers of a retirement.
Tim, we've got other concerns that we worry about. What if this happens one day? Well, one thing is certain in life, and that's death. Well, what if one spouse passes away before the other?
Well, you have a couple that's married, they have dual Social Security, and one of them passes away. Their comfortable retirement lifestyle, is upended. And so you have one Social Security benefit disappears. They get to keep the higher of the two, but loses the other. Tax filing status changes to single. Tax brackets, they shrink significantly. So you have the same income, but higher taxes, less income, same or higher taxes, right? You're seeing that phenomenon. So we also call that the widow's penalty. So with income drops, but taxes may increase. I mean, it seems like the worst of both worlds.
Right at the wrong time, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, this filing status change, has major impacts. So planning ahead can protect that surviving spouse. And that's something we try to get ahead of.
Tim, I have heard, and I fully believe that within a week of anyone passing away, the conversations turn to financial concerns. If we've got a plan that we've laid out ahead of time, then it can ease the stress of those financial concerns considerably.
Right. And a protect and grow blueprint does take that into account. Hopefully that, this person in this example, they had taken into account maybe some life insurance or something like that. So that is definitely a concern.
And again, all of these scenarios, these example stories that we're talking about, these are not unheard of. These are real life examples that can and certainly have happened that illustrate the need for careful planning for the what ifs, the day, the month, and all of the decades after retirement. And that's exactly what Tim Stearns, CFP, and his team of professionals there at TJ Stearns Inc. helped to put together, a plan that addresses the what ifs. And if you would like your own Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint, give them a call, 800 640 2256, 800 640 2256. Tim, I know you take a proactive look at planning for taxes, and there's a lot of what ifs when it comes to our tax code.
Well, right now taxes are at their lowest that they've been since the early 1980s. So the one that we are always asking people in my classes, and we are a very polarized nation right now, but the one thing everyone agrees upon is that taxes are going up. So most people that come to see us have a big tax burden that's, tax rates are going to increase. We have a huge federal deficit. I don't know how else we get out of that. So you have all these people, let's say, have 401ks, IRAs, they have all this deferred taxes inside there. And what's going to happen is tax rates are going to increase. The RMDs are going to push them into higher tax brackets, and therefore Medicare premiums could rise due to IRMA. Obviously the tax deferral here is not a tax elimination. Future tax rates are uncertain. So planning creates flexibility. So why not get ahead of it? Maybe some Roth conversion conversations, doing things like that to get, to solve the riddle before it happens.
The tax code is written in pencil and Congress has the eraser, and by the way, have a habit of spending trillions of dollars more each year than they bring in. So at some point in time, we're going to have to figure out how to bring in more, right? That's erasing the current tax rates, which are historically low, and adding some digits to it. So we don't want to see that. And if you want to be prepared, you got to plan for that what if this happens scenario into the future. Another big one, Tim, I know this is a concern in the back of the mind of everyone. Well, what if I encounter some healthcare expenses or healthcare events?
So the average 65-year-old will spend over $350,000 in healthcare costs, Medicare premiums, out of pocket, those types of things, over-the-counter drugs. This doesn't include long-term care. So you're looking at costs can be substantial. The assets could be depleted quickly, and it adds just more financial stress. So healthcare costs, they can escalate very quickly. Medicare does not cover long-term care. So planning can protect assets and of course, most importantly, your independence. So these are all things that go in there too.
What would you say all of these scenarios have in common, Tim?
Plan ahead. And that's so important. These are things that, we make sure that people understand. You have a 7 out of 10 chance that you're going to need long-term care. Recognize that. And 9 out of 10 people have not, addressed that.
And at first glance, the scenarios seem different, right? Market volatility, market risk, longevity risk, tax risk, healthcare, behavioral even. But retirement is about planning for all of these wild contingencies, preparing for it, right? Not preventing any of them from happening. These are all realities.
Right. And they're all things that you can get ahead of. So, and you don't need to be trying to predict the future. It's about preparing for it. And that's the most important thing to us. You can't predict, but you can definitely prepare.
Those risks are all interconnected too, right? It's like a domino effect. One kind of cascades into the other. If you haven't planned for one, then several things can be impacted by that.
Right. And, the big takeaway here is that strong plans need to be flexible. Preparation that will reduce the stress that people have, and coordination is going to improve your outcomes.
Absolutely. Well, the big takeaway, again, confidence comes from planning and preparation, ladies and gentlemen, and that's exactly what they do there at TJ Stearns Inc. If you would like to get your Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint, specifically if you'd like to learn how to generate more income, more dependable income, control and minimize taxes, and address the what ifs of the future, pick up the phone, give a call, start the conversation, and request the complimentary, no-cost courtesy service of having your plan designed specifically for you, your goals in mind, long-term vision and strategies, diversified approaches for how to achieve your goals. That's what they do there at TJ Stearns Inc. With the help and assistance of a certified financial planning professional, Tim Stearns, CFP, you can get your plan crafted to address these what-ifs. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. And if you'd like to read a great book chock full of additional what-if scenarios and the solutions, then give a call and request a copy of Tim's book, Solving the Modern Retirement Riddle. It's an excellent read, very informative, and talks about how we need to address some of the concerns that we have in our modern retirement setup. Why planning is so vitally important. Again, the number, 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. Tim, always a pleasure. We appreciate you being here as our resource.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
Tune into Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stern's full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals or growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.